Beyond the Law of Attraction with Barbara Schreiner-Trudel. The Law of Sacrifice. This is actually my favorite law, and anytime I teach about this law, I get incredible resistance from people. It's very, very funny. And I think people hear the word and think, well, I shouldn't have to sacrifice anything. But the reality is that what we have to sacrifice in order to achieve our dreams and hopes and wishes, the things that we need to sacrifice, are actually things that we're wanting to get rid of anyway, which is really quite interesting. So one is that, we really do need to be disciplined. So if we're moving forward in our lives and we want to create something spectacular, health or wealth, love, whatever it is that we want to create, the law of sacrifice is that I have to be willing to give something up. I have to give something in order to get something. I need to let go of something in order to bring something else in. So for example, let's say I'm in a job I absolutely hate, but I want something really spectacular in my life. In order to do that, I may have to give up the job that I hate in order to create the one that I would love. Funny thing that. So the law of sacrifice is that I have to be willing to give something up to make space or make room for that which I desire. The thing that I'm going to give up, though, is the thing that's causing me pain and anxiety, the thing that's been upsetting me. If I'm in a relationship, maybe I've met somebody, started dating, and I really am not happy in this relationship. But I imagine for a moment having a relationship that's very loving and respectful and kind and supportive and all that good stuff. I can't have that new relationship as long as I'm in the bad one. I need to sit back and say, you know what, this isn't working for me. I need to let this go and trust that the universe is bringing for me something much better. I said in an earlier session that when we settle for less than what we really want, we get less than we settled for. And that's what happens. It's like if we're in a situation where we're not happy with what's going on or how it's working, in order to create something bigger or better or different, we're going to have to sacrifice something. And what we need to sacrifice is the thing that doesn't work anyway, the thing we don't even like. If we're in a job we can't stand, we need to get rid of that and move into something else. And we do that through a few things. And if you've been listening to this whole series, you know about the law of non-resistance, and you know that it's essential that you begin to get that in place. And as you do, and as you let go of your need for this job and your thought that you have to have this job, sometimes we get an idea that, oh, I got to keep this job because it pays the bills. Well, there's lots of jobs out there. There's lots of jobs. There's lots of things that we can do to earn money or to create wealth in our lives. What we need to do is move into a place of non-resistance for the one that we have right now and sacrifice it, that we may be able to draw into our lives the thing that we really want, the thing we really desire. The important thing to remember is the idea of discipline. There's going to be something that we're going to have to do in order to create it. I'm creating a CD series or an MP3 series here called Beyond the Law of Attraction. I have to be disciplined enough to come into the recording studio and record this. I have to have that discipline. If I just sit back and think, gee, I'd like to do this, but then I never actually do anything, it'll never get done. So I have to sacrifice a little bit of my time doing other things so that I can be here in the studio creating this thing. Make sense? There's always something we must sacrifice in order to get what it is we want. Maybe we've decided to have children. I have a 4-year-old right now. So we've decided to have children. There's going to be some things we need to sacrifice. We're going to not go out quite as often, possibly. Or when we do, we're now a threesome. Was the sacrifice worth it? Of course it was. Of course it was worth it. The reality is that whatever it is we want in life, there's something that we have to give in order to have it. And that's not a bad thing. What we sacrifice brings us the greater good. What we sacrifice in this moment actually is bringing us something so beautiful and wonderful in the next moment that becomes an irrelevant thing. I remember living alone and having my apartment look perfect. And now I have my wonderful husband and my beautiful daughter, and my house is often a mess. All her friends come over and they play, they drag out all their toys and all their dress-up clothes, and they make a mess. So I've sacrificed the neat, tidy order I had when I was all alone. I also sacrificed the loneliness that I had when I was all alone. And now I have the joy of this family. I have the joy of a home that's full of life. I have a daughter who brings incredible energy and love and grace to every single day. But I had to sacrifice something to have that. So I want us to rethink our idea around sacrifice and give up the idea that somehow that's a bad thing, or that it's something we don't want to participate in. We must. We have to participate. We have to be willing to give something up in order to create our dreams. We can't continue to be the procrastinator if we have a vision of writing a bestseller. We're going to have to stop procrastinating and start writing. If we're imagining going to university and becoming a doctor, we have to sacrifice all the free time that we would have had if we didn't go, to realize that we're going to create something that we really love. And so discipline is required and sacrifice is a must in order to move us forward on our path to create the greater good that we have been imagining for our lives. That's the way it works. So the law of sacrifice isn't negative. The law of sacrifice isn't bad. It's just basically a law that says something must be given before you're going to get to the next level. We have to give up one thing to make room for another. We have to be willing to show up in life a little bit differently if, in fact, we're going to move forward and create all the dreams and desires that we have. It's absolutely essential. There's no other way. So what is it in your life that you've been dreaming and fantasizing about? What is it in your life? Maybe you're living alone and you think, oh gosh, it would be so great to meet my soulmate. Yeah, it would. And keep in mind that when that happens, there will be a sacrifice that needs to be made. The sacrifice might be loneliness. Are you ready to give that up? And the sacrifice might be the amount of private, quiet time you enjoy. We need to look at these things and decide what it is we really want and what we're really willing to pay to get it. There's always a price. There's always a price. We have to be willing to pay the price. If you want the love of your life to come in, but you can't stand that anybody's in your space, they're not going to come. They can't. You're obstructing it. You must sacrifice your alone time to embrace the idea of a couple or a family. And that doesn't mean you can't have alone time. Of course you can. We have to sacrifice our need for control sometimes so that we can open up and be more vulnerable and share with our partners what it is that we need in life and what it is we want in life. And as we do that, it just gets easier and better. It gets better every day. The reality is we need to be willing to give up what isn't working for us or what isn't fully satisfying us, what is less than what we desire, so that we may bring into our life exactly what it is we desire and dream about. There's always a price to pay. That's not a negative thing. That is a reality. The laws are exact. You know, we never really worry about the law of gravity, do we? We just go along with it. We know it's painful not to. Well, the laws of the universe are exactly the same. Go against them. Man, it can hurt sometimes. It can be incredibly painful. So you really want to take the time to relax and to breathe and to get a sense of what it is that you really desire in life. And then ask yourself, am I willing to pay the price to have that? Am I willing to pay the price to have this thing that I say that I want? And if you are, then hey, all hands on deck, let's go forward, let's make it happen. But if you're not, then I say stay where you are until you're ready to make the change. Stay where you are until you find what it is you really want bad enough that you're willing to take the risk and make the forward movement that you've been wanting to do. I had a desire years ago to move to Toronto and to start a center here, a spiritual center, and to really begin to create something cool with my life, something that I would really enjoy. And what I had to sacrifice was being in my hometown with my 3 grown children and my 2 grandchildren and my parents and my sisters and my brothers. It was a big sacrifice. It was a big sacrifice. And many times since I've been here, I have ached to spend more time with them. However, the reality is that I love what I'm doing. I love the city I'm living in. I love my husband and daughter that I found here. My husband I found here when I moved here. I am loving the people that I work with. And so I'm now in a place of living my dream, but I had to sacrifice something else in order to do it. And it was worth it. It was worth it. I still take trips back home so that I can spend time with my children and with my parents and my siblings. And of course, telephones and computers and Blackberries and Skype and all those great things are awesome because keeping in contact is really easy. And so we do all those things. But the reality is the price I paid was worth it. And there's still days when I would love to get home a little more often. And you know what? As time progresses, I'll find more windows of opportunity that I can zip home for a couple of days even to be with my family. But the reality is they're only a phone call away. So that was the sacrifice that I made to do what I love. What sacrifice do you need to do today in order to live your dream? I want you today to think about, when this particular recording ends, I want you to think about what it is that you really desire in life. And then imagine for a moment what it will cost you in order to have that. Does it mean moving to another city? Does it mean changing relationships? Does it mean changing careers or going back to school? What is required for you to create the dream that you've been really aching for? What is it that's required for you to begin to live a life that just jazzes you like there's no tomorrow? What is it that's required for you to be happy and free and peaceful? What's required? Think about that and write it down. Write it down. Write down your dream and then write down what you think you're going to have to give up in order to manifest it. How do I bring it into my life? I've got to be willing to sacrifice the thing that's holding me back. I've got to sacrifice the thing that's preventing me from receiving the blessing that's there. I've got to sacrifice the thing that's stopping me from moving forward. I got to sacrifice the thing that's causing all my suffering, whatever it is. There's something I got to let go of. So I invite you to just make some notes around that and take a look at what it is you need to let go of so that you can move forward. Your dream is right here. It's available to you now. Not tomorrow, next week, next month. It's available now. And the reality is that we absolutely have to relax into the moment and be willing to move forward. We've got to pay attention to what it is we really desire. We have to turn around and be disciplined enough to move forward even when the going gets rough. When we come across a bump in the road, we need to figure out how to move around it, through it, or over it. And as we do that, we will receive all that we have been dreaming about, everything that we've imagined for our lives. It's all there. The only way we can have it all is to sacrifice the thing that hasn't worked anyway. Are you ready? It's time for a sacrifice, but it's good.